Welcome to a special Friday night episode of Taking It to the Know. I'm your host, Boston Jimmie, and tonight, I got a couple of cool cats on tonight, man. Jake and Scott from Fathom and Fury Cigars. So these are veterans. They've done their service to our country. They have created an amazing cigar that we're going to talk about today. They are part of the Tobacco Products Association, and Tobacco Product Association is what we're doing these last couple of months as far as highlighting member brands, new and upcoming Tobacco Association, primarily around cigars. A lot of small brands, this being one of them. So we really want to, highlight these small brands and see what they've got in their hopper, both now on the market and to come. So we'll see what Fathom and Fury has to talk about. I do know a little bit about them because I did smoke and rate their cigar already. We'll get into that. But other than that, I know very little about them. And that's the way we like it on Taking It to Nub sometimes, so I can get a more detailed understanding along with you. Now, if you got any questions, bring your questions to it. We might actually have the ability to have a little giveaway during the show. So chime in, put some comments in, and let's see how we can roll with this. Meanwhile, as always, we need to do a little shout out to our sponsors because without them, the show is always a little harder to do. You got to pay the bills, you know how it is. And with that, we are going to roll the show.
Brought to you by Casa Cuevas Cigars. In the 19th century, Juan Cuevas, Spanish immigrant from Santander, began what was to be a family business which now spans 4 generations. Like others fortunate enough to live and work in Pinar del Rio province of Cuba, Juan commenced cultivating tobacco, turning it into a successful business. Years later, in the Ciabo Valley of the Dominican Republic, Luis Cuevas Sr., Juan Jr.'s son, carried on the family tradition of handcrafting fine cigars in the family's cigar factory, Tabacalera Las Lavas. Today, Luis Sr. is joined by his son Luis Jr. in the manufacturing and sale of premium long filler cigars. So check out Casa Cuevas Cigars at www.casacuevascigars.com and on their Instagram and Facebook channels.
Catelli Cigars is back. The past few years brought many questions and changes to the cigar industry. In the wake of all uncertainty, Catelli Cigars decided to take a break and try their hand in the retail side of cigars. With 2 shops under their belt, first Riverside Cigar Bar, and now the Catelli Cigar Lounge in Vero Beach, Florida, they are now more educated in the retail and the wholesale sides of the cigar business. During this time, they received many inquiries about their cigars returning to the market. Making the difficult decision to take a break from their brand was eased knowing that when the time was right, Catelli would be back, and now they are. Catelli is excited to bring their first release, the Catelli Box Air, back to market. The Box Air, a rich box-pressed San Andreas Mexican Maduro with a Nicaraguan binder and filler, come in Box Air's 3 original sizes, Robusto, Toro, and Gordo, You can check out Catelli Cigars at catellicigars.com. And also check out their Facebook and Instagram pages.
All right, all right. There you go. Thank you to my sponsors. Well, let's bring in Jake and Scott. Welcome to Taking It to the Know.
Hey, what's up?
Hey man, life is good. We had a tremendous amount of rain today, and the clouds cleared out. The temperature dropped. We're down in the high 70s, which is nice. How about y'all?
It's cloudy up here in North Carolina. It's been about 70 degrees though, so we're getting a break from the standard, 98 high humidity August summers that we usually have. So we've been real
Inland?
blessed. Hmm?
Were you inland or are you beach near where the waves were?
I wish I was where the waves are. Where I'm right around Charlotte, right outside of Charlotte.
Oh, okay, I know where you are.
Yeah.
Jake?
I mean, I can't complain. It's 68 degrees here and blue sky. So,
Where are you right now?
middle of nowhere in North Dakota.
Right.
In a whopping town of 82 people, Jimmy.
Damn.
82.
82.
How many dogs?
A number of them.
I live in a town of 1,000 people, but I'm surrounded by 150,000 people, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's a town that was never annexed by Melbourne, and then Melbourne area is like 150,000 people. And this little town called Palm Shores, which they were never able to bring into their incorporation, stands in the middle of it. Like, no, we don't stand. No, we rule ourselves.
Nice.
How did you two meet? If you're in North Carolina and he's in South Dakota, what
Well,
Dakota?
Jake and I met on Honor and Ash Cigar Club. Gosh, it's been a couple of years now, almost.
It's been 16 months.
Has it? Yeah. Oh, a couple of years. That was close. Don't call out my math skills right off the bat. But I got on there, man, and ran into Jake, and right off the bat, I was like, this is a real genuine guy. We hit it off right off the bat. Both veterans, had a lot in common, and really took a liking to this guy, and that's unusual for me, man, because I don't like most people, but it was different with him. So that's kind of where we met and how this whole thing started. It didn't start till much later after that, but that's where we met.
Yeah, and then we met face to face last year at Toro's Veteran Day event that they hold, and we just hit it off. And about a month later, just through a series of events, I've been approached. I've had a lot of opportunity to do something in the cigar world, and it's just never been like, hey, that's what that, I'm all about, like, does it feel good? Is that somebody I want to deal with? Because, in a lot of ways, having a business partner is like having another wife. I mean, it just is. Like, I mean, because of, all the compromise and the give and the take and the conversations. And I've never really hit it. And when I met Scott, I was like, man, that's the dude I want to do this with. And it was like, there's, like I said, a series of events, some other stuff happening. I talked to Mike. I called Mike and I said, hey, man, I think I want to talk to Scott about this. And he's like, and you're calling me why? And I was like, oh, so I guess that's a good idea. And Fathom and Fury was born.
Fathom and Fury. So
No
let
doubt.
me you Fathom and Fury. We got two words, and I'm it's just strangely in my own head without knowing much about the brand.
Yep.
Fathom, is that like sea fathoms, like Navy? And
Depths of the
Fury
ocean.
is Army or Air Force or
No,
just
Hey,
Hey, I'm a
let's
Navy
not go
veteran.
Huh?
And I'm a Navy veteran.
I'm a
You're
Coast
Navy.
Guard veteran. Coast Guard veteran.
Coast Guard veteran. Okay.
And so what started it all is we wanted something to pay homage to our time at sea. And so we thought, hey, Fathom's cool, depths of the ocean, and the fury of a storm.
Oh.
Right? Because if you've never been at a storm at sea, you've never seen a true storm. I'm just going to say that. It's
big ships doing this.
yeah, yep. So that's really where it came from, and then the cigar we're smoking is kind of a throwback to the days of old. We're talking about it, and like when they had like the armadas fighting pirates, right? And when they get the pirates, they make them no quarter given in the fight, and they make them walk the plank. So the cigar, no quarter given.
So what does that mean? No quarter given.
I mean, back in the old days, I mean, no quarter was given. So if you took prisoners, you didn't take prisoners. Basically, you didn't offer any, jail cells or refuge or food. It was just that was it. There's no quarter given. We're not doing that. We're done.
So
That,
force you to walk the plank,
yep.
or stab you with the sword, whatever, and that was it. So we're like, okay, and then and our thing was with this cigar. It's such a unique cigar, and we're coming into an industry that has so many options, right? We didn't want to come in and play everybody else's game. So we didn't. We're giving them no quarter. We're playing our game our way with our cigar. And so that was kind of why I got the no quarter given, because it wasn't like, oh, hey, go find a cigar similar to this. There isn't.
No.
And so that was really what the no quarter given was, right? We're not giving quarter to the cigar industry. We're going to do something so out of the box and change the game that there's no quarter given. And so that's when we contacted Ish, and man, I love that guy. I mean, I've known Ish for years, but just his ability to deal with like guys like me and Scott that didn't have any experience. Like, I mean, I've smoked cigars for longer than my kids have been alive, and they're 12 and 14, but I didn't understand what it took to produce something as crazy as we wanted.
So what was your view of how you produce a cigar? You bunch a couple of leaves, you put a binder and a wrapper on it, and that's it?
Yeah,
So hold on, let me reel that back up for you. Prior to doing this, let's just set a baseline. How long have you all been smoking cigars?
I'm a baby, man. I've only been smoking probably 4 or 5 years now. I started off with the legacy stuff and quickly fell into the boutique craft rabbit hole and have been falling ever since. And that's kind of how it started with me. But I fell in love with the philosophy, the people. Most of the guys that in the cigar world are pretty down to earth, like-minded people that I found. I think you run into a couple dicks here and there, but I think that percentage is a lot smaller than the slice of pie you would take from average society, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and when you're sitting down with the cigar in front of somebody, a lot of times that dickishness sometimes isn't even dickishness. It's more like, hey, you know what? I kind of get where you're coming from because I'm having a face-to-face conversation with you.
Exactly.
Right? No, and I've been smoking cigars for about 14, 15 years, but I didn't become serious till about 8 years ago.
Okay.
I would do a bunch of I've always done a bunch of stuff with veterans. So, it'd be a couple times a year around a campfire with a bunch of veterans, or on the golf course with some buddies, not like, hey, I'm going to, like, the thought of me sitting in a lounge before was like, you want me to go sit and deal with people? You're out of your damn mind. Now it's different because, especially with the brand, I want to be in a cigar lounge more. But
I want to thank you all for your service for sure. Because without people like you, we may not be as safe of a country as we are.
And I'll say this, Jimmie, we talk a bunch of us veterans talk time. We did it for you. We did it for your kids. We did it for our kids and their grandkids. Because the minute somebody quits doing it, the generation quits, we got a problem, and it's a different mindset, and then with dealing with that group, I don't hide it. I used to for many years. 5.5 years ago, I tried to commit suicide, and the cigar and veteran community along with some other, I'm not going to get into religion and everything. It's not the time or place, right? I don't believe religion and cigars go well together. Kind of brought me back from that. And so it was like, hey, this is where I'm going to be now, helping the next guy.
And you're not the only person that's told me a story like that. And it is a testament to what we do as a community. From the smallest grieving person to the most distraught person, we're there for them. I've had people there for me for various things, just where I was just, my father died, my mother died, my brother died. Recently, my friend just died. And just a couple of days of just like, okay, Jimmie's going to have to unleash, on stuff. And they'll be there, they'll listen, they'll hear, they'll talk it out, they'll bring up stories, we'll share stories. And then you feel good. You're like, wow, holy crap.
It's a laugh and joke and it's positive.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think, especially like, we have a cigar, me and a couple guys started a cigar club. Scott was like, I think like the third guy that jumped in. And, it's really funny because we always talk about, man, if we let somebody else in here, they think we're all nuts because we all have dark humor. We laugh about the stupidest stuff, but it's like, you got to laugh, right? There's more healing and laughter than people understand. And, you had that with a cigar, game over.
So what is the overall mission of Fathom and Fury? So we got one cigar. We're going to talk about this a little more in depth in just a moment. But so you got this one cigar, incredible cigar. We'll talk about it. But what is the mission? What is it you want to do with the company as it grows? Where do you want to be? Where do you want this company to be in 5 years?
Well, I thought for sure Jake was going to jump all over that one. When we started this thing, we started with a very small, finite amount of money. And we were like, we're going to try this thing. If we can get this thing off the ground and sustain it with this amount of money, then we're going to move forward. And we told each other right off the bat that, look, this is what we love. We're passionate about it. This is what we want to do. So we're going to do it until that doesn't happen anymore, and until it stops being fun, and then we'll stop. Worst case scenario, we're gonna not sell anything. We're gonna have a bunch of cigars, and we'll just have to smoke them ourselves. And I'm good with that. But we always in the back of our mind had what could we do for these other groups, specifically veterans. I'm a big proponent of helping those with alcohol and drug addiction, especially veterans that suffer from that as well. So that's always been in the back of our minds. We've had that discussion several times about what can we do, when can we start contributing and helping out these other groups and things like that. So I think in 5 years, it's never really been about the money. We're not in this to make money. I'm not trying to buy a sports car or anything like that. Everything we're doing right now is getting folded right back in. And we're trying to get to a point where we can reach out and help, organizations that help others, and that's kind of, what we want to do.
Yeah. And I couldn't have said it better. That's really what we're about. We talked in the beginning, and we've watched a lot of companies, right? Two guys that get along, they start a company, all of a sudden their friendship's ruined. You're throwing a whole friendship away. And we said right in the beginning, whatever happens, the friendship is more important to us than the cigar. And, if I had to make a decision tomorrow to have the company or have Scott as my friend, Scott can have the company. I'm out. I wouldn't even, it's not even a question. And I know that's mutual both ways, right? It's not like it's
Absolutely.
me going that way and him not. It was the friendship's more important. And this to us isn't a cigar. This is a way to talk about the struggles that guys like us have, to get that message out there, saying, hey, look, and I'll say this, if you're watching this show when Jimmie releases it, and if you're a veteran and you're struggling, do yourself a solid. Go to a cigar lounge, get a cigar, and sit down. You're going to meet somebody new.
Yeah.
And you're going to meet somebody you don't know, and you don't know that they're not struggling too. And you're going to build friendships. But that's what this is to us. It's not, to us, this is a bridge more than a cigar, right? It's a bridge to that person, because even if that person's struggling and they kind of like cigars, and I can sit with them and smoke a cigar, or Scott can sit with them, or Jimmie, you can sit with them and have a cigar. Hey, maybe their day sucked. But maybe during that 45 minutes while they're smoking that cigar and they're talking about the color of the paint on the wall, who cares what they're talking about, right? Their day's better for that little period of time. And maybe that gives them a glimmer of hope that there is light at the end of the tunnel.
All right.
And that's really, what we want to do. And, one of the things I know I drive Scott nuts with this is we want to do more limited runs and we want to tell stories of other guys that have struggled. So it's not just us. It's like, hey, we know a lot of veterans that have struggled. Let's tell their stories too through cigars.
I mean, cigars are the best therapy in the world, and I mean that's kind of our mission.
My doctor, please, can you please tell that to my doctor who keeps telling me?
But I believe that because they've helped me so much, So that's kind of our 5-year outlook and our mission, But the other side of it too is just putting out a good stick, and having something that's different, that's unique, that people like to smoke and that they talk about, and and that just kind of adds into the whole, part of why we're really doing what we're doing.
And like that's one of the things with that, Jimmie, you know how crazy this cigar is. You know all about it.
We're about to get into this.
Right. But here's the thing. That's why we only released one. We didn't you see some of these guys, they drop 3 or 4 cigars to come out of the gate. And we're like, no, we're gonna drop one cigar, make it so unique, so crazy, so mind-blowing that next year, and I can say this, next year on June 3rd, that's our 1-year anniversary of No Quarter Given, there will be a cigar drop, another core line. But that's why we're doing them that way, is that we want to be able to take the time and
absolutely
and really get this cigar out there before we start muddying the water, so to speak, Because, okay, Jimmie, I'm going to put you on the spot because I know you're about to get us. So I'm going to try to get you first. Right? Okay, here's the thing, though. New brand comes out the gate, new brand X, right? And they have 3 cigars. 1 banger cigar, 1 decent cigar, and 1 cigar that falls flat. And they're in a shop, and some guy walks in and picks up the first cigar they ever smoked from the company, and they picked up the fall flat cigar. What is their mental?
They're moving away from the brand.
Right. So our thought was do it well, do one, and then work on the next one, and then work on the next one. And, we say we want to do 1 core line a year. If it takes us 2 years to get the 3rd core line out, to get it exact, hey, guys, you're going to wait. Because if it's not right, you're not going to smoke it.
Right.
So this cigar, everybody, is called the Fathom Fury. No Quarter Given. It's a Toro. I'm going to share my screen here. All right. So this is the review I did on this. If you didn't read the review, people, not you guys, but the rest of the world. All right. So I given this a 95. This is what it looks like. I just want to say, I'm going to go right past everything for a second. I'm going to go to the bottom. The most important thing in this review, and it's not something I always put in a review, but I just felt so compelled to write this statement. This is not just a cigar. It's an atlas rolled in leaf, a truly one-of-a-kind blend that takes the enthusiast on a sensory world tour without ever leaving their chair. Now, what do I say that? This has got a very interesting blend. It's got a Dominican Habano Maduro. Okay, that's nice. It's got a Pennsylvania binder. Okay, I've seen that before. Filler, African Cameroon, Nicaragua, Italian, Irish, Turkish, Thai, Philippines, Transylvania, and French.
Nope.
I didn't notice any blood vessels from the Transylvania, but that's okay. The filler, I mean, there's one, two, three,
9. There's 9 in it.
9 in the filler. There's 11 leaves involved in this. What kind of crazy, and I'm gonna stop the share for a second, we'll get back to this in a moment. What kind of crazy goes through one's head? What kind of crazy to put that together? And I've gotten asked by numerous people, how in the world do you put 9 leaves in the filler?
Yeah, so
in a 52 ring gauge Toro.
Yeah. So it's so here's the trick with that. A lot of people think that you have your third and your third, right? So you have the third, the third, the third. and each third has different tobacco. It's not. The whole cigar has all the filler, all 9 of them down it. And they actually had to come up with a way to cut different of those 9 fillers. Some of them will blow your palate away. Some of them are subtle, and we wanted the subtlety, right, to have that journey.
You needed 6 inches of leaf of all 9 leaves, but different widths.
Different widths. And they actually had to come up with a different way to bunch it because they couldn't use the standard the standard book, where they do it and they kind of do the fold over, or
Right.
they'll do the roll, and they couldn't do that with it. They had to come up with a different way to actually do it to where it was smokable.
And how they did that was they twisted it a little bit.
Okay. Interesting.
It's got a slight twist, which, as you know, Jimmie, I know you smoked a few of them. You get all the same tasting notes in every cigar, but they're not always exactly in the same journey of the cigar. There's little variances because of that.
No doubt.
I'll venture to say, and I said this in the article too, that there is so much going on this because, like you said, it's not like you're putting a sliver of leaf down in the bottom third or the top third. It's all 9 leaves are throughout the cigar. So all of those leaves are contributing notes and things and tantalizing the palate, whereas a normal blend might tantalize the sour or the sweet part of the palate. This is hitting all 5 of them, and by doing that, I sense that, and the aroma too, right? And retrohale. And when you do all of that, it's just like you would get different notes possibly than I would get, because my brain's telling me with all this stuff firing, it's like you would think it would be all over the place, and it's not. It's just, that's good. And then you get this other note. We're going to talk about those notes. So I got in this cigar, for those that are paying attention.
And guys, I'm going to be honest. Jimmie's not joking. He did not put a tasting wheel on the wall and blindly throw darts. Even though if you read the review with the list of tasting notes, you might think Jimmie was playing connected.
So I just read to you the final analysis. So this cigar begins with light notes of salty butter and black pepper, quickly joined by a rustic spice that sets the tone. There was this spice, I couldn't place it. It's rustic. It's kind of like, I don't know, something like if I'm in a it reminds me of going to like a place where they serve like, bear and deer and just something like that, right? And then soon sweet floral fruit enters the mix, lifting the profile with a delicate brightness. The smoke pours out full, thick, and creamy. You could see as we're smoking, this is a really thick, creamy smoke. All right. Just as cedar and nutmeg nuances seem to round out the introduction, the cigar surprises. This is merely the first passport stamp on a far-reaching journey or voyage. Espresso notes slide into the profile with a touch of cocoa, while the initial sweetness evolves into a richer honey-like tone, which, by the way, is one of my more favorite notes in a cigar. Entering the second third, a fleeting note of dry leather teases the palate before giving way to a malty citrus, moistening the mouth as flavors begin to swirl in harmony. Now, that malty citrus note, for those that are wondering what the fuck I'm talking about, think about a malt beverage, okay? It has that, it has that kind of maltiness to it and citrus. If you're drinking them like one of these, like flavored drinks that use a malt as their base. That's kind of what I was getting. And then the cigar rewards a slow pace. It likes to be smoked slow. Draw too quickly and its balance shifts, but when savored, it reveals remarkable depth. So don't smoke this fast. It's not meant to be smoked fast because you're going to miss a lot. Then midway through, a mild black licorice aroma rises from the foot, while savory spice grows tangier and the early citrus resurfaces as orange. All right. A toasted cracker quality adds to the rustic aroma, while the retrohale surprises with buttered popcorn layered with over nutty nuances. All right. And then with another passport stamp, the journey transitions into its final leg of the journey. Chocolate and tea-like spice brighten the palate as the leather returns, now paired with woody oak. The aroma shifts once more, offering a nuttiness that lingers in the room. Closing on a graceful note, the cigar leaves behind a whisper of floral herbs, an elegant farewell to a journey that proved both complex and rewarding. Yeah,
And
that's what this cigar is.
And I'll say, like,
I'm reading the notes and I'm getting some of them now.
And our thing is smoothness, right? We wanted it to be smooth.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, to me, like, and I'm going to say this, and this is just how I look at it.
Beautiful.
Like, it's, you know, you ever get those cigars and you smoke them and they're just harsh on the palate.
Mm-hmm.
And both Scott and myself don't like that. We don't care I don't care what the nicotine level is. I don't care what the wrappers and everything are as much. I'll try any cigar, but I hate harsh cigars. So we said, hey, we want it smooth. And then we wanted to have an easy draw, smoke it slow, because, you know, we both liked the Padron 64s. And that has that cigar wants you to smoke it slow with that easy pull. My number one pet peeve on a cigar after harshness, so I guess technically my number two pet peeve, is fish face. You get the cigar, it's so hard to draw, and it's like, why are you doing that to yourself? You're not going to finish the cigar. And those are the things that we really focused on. And then
before we did anything else, that's what we focused on.
That's like our number one thing, is like those two things. But it's and I'll say this, I smoke cigars faster than most, just habit. But you're right, this cigar, it wants you to smoke it slow. And it's kind of like when you were first introduced to your wife and you're courting your wife, right? You couldn't just go straight to the end game. You had to do everything to get there. It's kind of what this cigar is, right? You got to smoke it slow. And there goes Scott rubbing his head.
I don't know. Let's just put it this way. I like to always say, when it comes to cigars, and that's why I always tell people when I review, I like to have a few of them to review, because you have to date a cigar. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
First time you smoke a cigar, you have no idea where the ash is dropping, how long the puff rate should be before it goes out. You got to relight it, because I don't want to relight it.
Yep.
So there's things you learn about that cigar, and then the second time around, you take that, you say, okay, now I know she likes this, this, and this is what I'm going to do, and suddenly you get much better experience out of the cigar. Right. And then the last one, you're like, I'm getting married to this now. So it's like, yeah, now I know what she likes. I'm enjoying it. The ash did drop. Okay, yeah. Sorry. I was trying.
Mine did too. And 30-mile-an-hour winds. I didn't expect it to go well.
I mean, it's got so much leaf in it. To me, I think it doesn't have enough. I don't think it has enough internal structure in the sense to carry a long ash, although you might be able to on an occasional one. But like you say, the way it's twisted, okay, that's unique. All right.
Oh yeah. And that's what it is, right? Like the unique thing. That's what, once we got this, that we went, every cigar has to be this unique, which is scary. I'll be honest with you, right? I mean, me and Scott have had this conversation, right? The next cigar we release, Jimmie, you now have an expectation.
Well, you set a bar.
Right. And unfortunately, we didn't know any better, and we just set a high bar.
Yeah, when you're in the Olympics and you hit that world record breaking long jump, everybody's expecting you to break the record again, and you're just like, not so.
And that's that's gonna be a tough call. We're gonna figure it out.
Don't do it, Jake. Don't do it. I know you're thinking about it.
We're gonna do it.
You're thinking about giving up a little bit of what's coming next.
No,
don't do it.
No, I'm not saying nothing about what's coming.
All right,
don't do it. We'll. I know I'll know about it before anybody else.
Oh yeah,
no doubt.
Smoking it before anybody else. Too. But that's the thing, is like, it doesn't matter if we use 5 or 6 really unique tobaccos, or we go for another. Maybe we try to break. This has 11. Maybe we try to break 11. Maybe we try to break that. But it's got to be smooth and unique. But no matter what, we want it to be an experience. And that's what it is. We want it to be a unique experience and a unique journey. And that's a tough, I think it's a tough thing to do in the cigar industry, right? Because a lot of everybody's using the same stuff, and you start using really crazy stuff like we did. I was telling Jimmie before the show, a guy I know smoked it, and he was like, I can only pick out 2 tasting notes in the cigar. There was just so much going on. And I'm like, well, that's not right. That's not my cigar's problem. But it's kind of interesting. It's how do we keep that momentum going?
And that was part of the issue too. When we started doing this, we came up with it. First it was kind of like the dating analogy you were talking about. I mean, all these other things have to be on point before anything else. The construction, the draw, the burn, everything has to be right. I will put down a cigar in a heartbeat if I'm a third of the way into it. If I'm having trouble with it, it's just not worth it. So, and we knew kind of going in with Ish that wasn't going to be an issue. But then we had this idea. Obviously, we wanted to do something different. We didn't want to, trying to compete, and use the same tobaccos and come up with something unique is almost a death sentence. So we were like, this is our idea. This is what we want to do. How do we do this? And the problem that we encountered, or the anxiety, came from, we're going to use this many tobaccos in there. Is it going to come off chaotic? Are people going to smoke this and be like, it's freaking all over the place? I can't do this. What is this thing all about? And that was my anxiety. I think Jake is the, everything's going to be fine. It's all good, dude. Don't worry about it, guy. I'm the other guy, so it was kind of a hats off to Ish, and I had all the faith in the world. But Jimmie, it would blow you away if we told you how many times that we got the first test blend, how many times we sent it back. So ask me how many times we sent it back.
12.
None. This thing came out of the freaking box like that. The first time we smoked it, we were sitting here, we got online together and we were smoking it, and we were like, it can't be this good. It can't be this good. We finished it. It was great. We'll do this again tomorrow. We picked it up again tomorrow. Same thing, and we were like, wow, man, are we that lucky? Is this a God thing? What's going on? And then my anxiety kicks in and I'm like, wow, is this thing going to lose something in 6 or 8 weeks or 3 months? So I stressed over that until, 6 weeks later, we smoked it again. It was the same cigar, just a little better, so it's been a journey.
And that's the thing. Yeah, it was really, I was like, we expected to have to go back and forth, and and then you start doubting yourself, right? Do I like it because it's mine?
Yeah.
And I actually saved one. I actually saved them and I smoked. We got them on a Friday, and we sat down on a Friday and smoked one together. Did that on a Saturday. Did it again on a Monday, and then I saved them and I smoked one every Friday for 6 weeks, and the experience never really changed. It was as good as the first one, and we're like, okay, we're in.
So right here,
yeah,
the honey note, right before, and the honey note coming in. I could savor it right now with this. It's like spicy honey right now. It's just so good. Now, how did you guys get connected with Ish?
And that was a Jake thing, so I'm going to let him handle that.
So here's the thing, like, I've been, like, okay, you're in the industry, you're doing reviews, right? I've been the weird guy in the cigar industry for a number of years. I know all the guys. I talk to a lot of them about marketing and stuff. I would go to PCA, but I just go to PCA to see all my friends, right? That I don't see that often.
Right.
And it was fun because I know all the guys at Wounded Warrior Project. And their booth was right next to Ish's, and he had done a cigar for him. And they're like, hey, let me introduce you to my friend Ish. And I started talking to Ish, and he goes, what kind of cigars do you like? And I'm like, man, I'm a Cameroon fiend. And he goes, I got you. And he handed me the African Cameroon. We stood and talked. This was like, and you've been to PCA, right? You smoke how many cigars in a day? Like, this was like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I probably had 10 cigars or 12 cigars down at that point, right? And I was like, I'll smoke. I told him, I want to smoke this tomorrow morning with a cup of black coffee fresh. So I woke up the next morning and smoked it. And I love a Cameroon cigar. Like, I hunt them down actively. Or I used to. And I sat down with a cup of coffee and smoked that cigar. I went back to Ish and I went, "What did you do?" And he started laughing at me. He goes, "What do you mean?" I was like, "That's the best Cameroon I smoked." He goes, "Well, yeah, it's all Cameroon tobacco." And I went, "Ha ha ha. Okay, you're sneaky. I like it." And we became friends. And so when, me and Scott were started talking and we wanted something unique, I knew there was only one guy in the industry to go to that could potentially pull off something this crazy. And I'll say this, he didn't pull it off. He blew that expectation away.
Absolutely.
And so now it's like, okay, what's next? And I mean, I talk to him 2-3 times a week. Hey, how are we gonna do it? He's like, well, I got some ideas, and so he's now already thinking, because he's like, okay, that cigar is there. What do you do next?
Well, so you get together with Ish. Ish makes the cigar. You're all having a good time with this. How quickly was it when he formed the Tobacco Products Association did you say we're all in?
So he did that last year. And it took us probably right before we launched the cigar.
Mm-hmm. That sounds right.
Pretty close to right before the 3rd of June, only because we were still playing our cards a little close to our vest. We're still really nervous. I mean, we were really scared about launching this cigar, in all honesty. And I mean, I had to never let Scott know how nervous I was, because he was nervous enough for the both of us. So I'd be telling Scott on the phone, man, it's fine. It's going to be okay. We got this. We got something different. We'd hang up the phone and my wife would look at me and go, you were telling me 2 hours ago how nervous you were. I'm like, yeah, but Scott doesn't need to know how nervous I am. And so no, and they've been great, but I mean, when we started this, we didn't even, we never thought we'd be in a lounge. We just didn't. It wasn't like anything in our head, right? You can get them at Toro's Cigar Company. And Mike's a good friend of ours. We're like, hey, you know what? We'll just send everybody there. And I've got a list inside of 15 lounges that just are waiting, because we don't want to pick them up and grow too fast. We want to make sure that we can always, right now there's a little growing pain going on, but it's industry wide, so I'm not real worried. We want to make sure that we're not picking up so many people we can't accommodate them, as we grow. So we got, we're in 2 other shops. There's only 1 shop in North Dakota, by the way, Jimmie, 1 in the entire state.
That's crazy.
How
many congressmen do you have in the state?
Huh?
How many congressmen do you have in the state?
I think 1, maybe
Okay.
2. I mean, the entire state's population is only about 600,000.
Right.
But there's one, and so she really wanted it, and I kept going in there, and I'd go over there to go have cigars with her, and I got to know the owner. I was like, okay, well, I talked to Scott, and we're like, let's put it in there. I'm over there anyway, because North Dakota has a really weird law with cigars. You could not smoke a cigar in a cigar lounge here that you did not purchase that day from the cigar lounge.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
Yeah, right. So I couldn't take a bundle of ours in there and share them with guys. And so I was like, well, I got to get them in here then. And then we just picked up, I don't know, about a month ago, 6 weeks ago, something like that.
If that.
We just picked up our second lounge, and honestly, that was actually because they love everything Ish did. They wanted ours, and they kept hounding me, and Scott and myself got on the phone, and we were like, okay, we're going to take a chance and pick up 1 more lounge, but we've got, the next shipment's on its way from Ish, and we've got 3 more lounges waiting for it.
Nice.
But that was never really in our plan. Like, we talked, I know for a fact, we talked right before the launch, and we're like, okay, year 1, let's just get it out there. Year 2, we'll start looking for shops.
Yeah.
And they just started coming to us, and they were good fits, because I've been in business a long time, right, Jimmie? You come from a business background. Not everybody's your customer.
No. It's a numbers game, and you gotta play through it.
But and I looked at, like I said, I've been watching the cigar industry for a long time, and I see a lot of these smaller guys. They want to get to 100 shops, but they don't know how to manage 100 shops. and they really only handle 20 well. So we said, okay, look, over the first 4 or 5 years, let's try to find 20 shops over 4 or 5 years. And they're just coming out, and it's good guys that have, that want us in there. And we're like, okay, but here's the situation. And we're just slowly, letting it go organically, right? We're not forcing it.
Yeah, I mean every one of those has been, they've contacted us initially and been like, "Hey, can we do something?" Which is, a huge testament to the cigar itself and everything. So we're real blessed in that regard. It's been amazing so far.
Yeah, because I don't ever want us to be that guy that goes on the road hunting shops. Let the cigar speak for itself. Let it make it so good they come to you.
Well, that's it is industry, unfortunately. If you want to really grow the brand, and I know you eventually gotta have enough revenue that allows you to go and visit shops, start to branch out. You got to get your name out there. But go back to TPA. So this is how I think you do it partially, right? Because TPA is a wonderful organization based on what I've experienced with it, on how the mission of TPA is to gather small brands together to help each other share experiences and even help get you into different lounges that maybe they're in. So if you're in a lounge and they like that your cigar, you say, you know what, not that Ish makes all the TPA cigars. He doesn't make all the TPA cigars. I should make that clear right now. It doesn't matter, but small brands, any brands, they can join, and people help. And the experiences I've had with them, everybody's been on these calls and they help each other. They're like, hey, I'm trying to do this. What, if I want to know what leaf to use, somebody's going to chime in and help you with that. Okay. I'm having this issue with the burn because it's not coming maybe from an Ish factory, but it's coming somewhere else. And they're like, well, you got to go back to your factory and talk to them about this. All right. And help fix all of that. So that's the beauty of it. What is your view of TPA and how do you engage and enjoy it?
So I mean, we're in TPA on two different realms, right? I joined it as media, mostly just because of my web and digital marketing background. Because initially when I joined it, me, Scott and myself, we had to talk that, hey, we're going to focus on Toro for the first year. So I initially just joined it to really coming in going, I'm going to just go help these guys out with their marketing, right? With their emails, with their social media, with whatever these small guys need that can't afford the big budgets to hire somebody, right? Big in the end. And then, with Scott's actually on there as the contact for Fathom and Fury so that, the roles stay different. But, the thing with the TPA, it's interesting because two of the shops that are waiting on our cigars right now are in the TPA. They got their hands on them. And they're like, how do we get more of these? And so I think it's a great place if you're a new lounge trying to figure out how to like separate yourself, or if you're a new brand, how to start clawing some market share, to get out there. And it's really just a group of people that are giving away knowledge, and it's, I mean, for a brand, it's like $200 a year. It's a drop in the bucket.
Right. Yeah. They just had their main event last month. It was good. It's going to get bigger and better.
Yeah.
Right. Hopefully it's not in July in Florida again.
Here's the deal. If it's in July in Florida, you're not going to see me down there.
I want October. I want October in Florida or something like that.
Well, how about, I told this, next time he pulls it July in Florida, I demand a second one in North Dakota in February to get even with them when it's -60.
Please don't do that. Please don't do it.
But no, I think it's a great organization, especially if you, I'll say this, if you're thinking about even getting into the industry, it's worth you going over there and spending a little money to get the education, because you don't know what you don't know. And I mean, even when we're talking, we're like, okay, oh man, we didn't know that. Okay. How do we pivot? but it's
Never learn in this industry. This is you'll never stop learning. There's so much involved in taking this product that we love so much and getting it onto a shelf in a
right.
shop. And everything leading up to that, from planting and growing and running farms to curing and fermenting and rolling and manufacturing to producing bands and producing boxes and bundles and stickers and whatever, and in export taxing and export authorizations. And I mean, there's so many things that are involved before they even land on the shore. And then there's taxes, and there's eventual distribution, and there's a whole book. There are books written about this, right? But to have an organization to help guide you through that, and then on the flip side, as you briefly touched on it, when you have a shop, if you're a new shop, right, and new shops know that they have to carry certain specific brands if they're going to have any success, right? You're probably going to have to get your hands on Fuente, even if you don't have a Fuente account. You got to have your hands on Padrones. You got to have your hands on Perdomo. There are things you just have to have there, because these are household names that when people walk into a shop, they may not smoke every day like we do, but they know those brands.
And
but
there's an expectation.
If you want to understand small brands and you want to have a section of and I would highly recommend not to spatter the stuff. I mean, you could do it two different ways. You could scatter these things and interplace them between the big brands, or you can have a section, okay, that is the small brand section of the humidor. You right now on the TPA Rock site, you can go in there and see all these brands, and these are, for what I consider, are quality small premium cigar brands. All right, I've reviewed quite a number of the cigars that are in there, and they've ranked very well. Okay, so if you're a new shop, go to that page and say, okay, whoa, look at these. Which one of these would I like? Maybe I want to check these out. Contact the company, get some samples, smoke them, see what you like, and bring them in. And that's how you build up, because people go into shops. You got the ones that just know what they want, and they don't want to go away from that. Right? It's kind of like Ish. Ish only smokes Winston's.
Right.
He's not smoking Marlboros. He's not smoking Camel. He's smoking Winston's, right? That's his thing, right? The cigar smokers are the same way. Then there are others that are the geeky ones like us. They're like, I want to try all kinds of cool shit. I want to check it out. And if you want to check out some really cool stuff, this right here, it's got to be on your radar screen.
Mm-hmm.
Where can people? Okay, so I'm not.
So let me tell you a funny story about this cigar based on that. So the cigar lounge up here is called Big Stick. It's a female-owned lounge. She's a rock star. She was a concealed carried and women's self-defense instructor for like 20 years, and got out of that. And she loved cigars, so she started the cigar lounge. So when I was up there on release day, I had a couple bundles of these to take over there. The day we dropped them on Toro, about a week later, I was over there with her doing a special release for her with them. And there's this guy that comes in, and he's an older gentleman. I would guess he's in his 70s. And she's like, I said, oh, I should talk to him. She goes, no, don't even waste your time. He's smoked the same cigar for 50 years. And he only smoked Monte Cristos. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
And he would come in, he'd buy 2 Monte Cristos. He'd have a double Blantons on the rocks, and he'd leave. That's it. And he'd smoke one cigar and take one with him. She's like, don't even waste your time. I'm like, oh, no. Now, Scott knows me well enough. All I heard was challenge accepted. So I went over to him, and I started talking to him, and he's like, so is that yours? I said, yeah. He goes, yep, I only smoke these. I said, okay. But he had on an old Vietnam veteran hat. And so I was like, oh, you served. So my dad served in Vietnam, man. Thank you. You paved the way for the rest of us. And that's, we started talking about military stuff, not cigars, because that's where he took the conversation. And he was like, yep. He goes, I tried one of yours, but I'd only smoked these. And he hadn't lit his cigar yet. He was just sitting, I had a couple sips of Blanton's. And I said, look, man, here's the deal. I want to give you one of these. Smoke it or give it away. It's your choice. But if you smoke it, I'll make a deal with you. And he said, okay. I said, those 2 cigars you're holding are $12.50 a piece, right? He said, yep. I said, okay. And the Blanton's is a double Blanton's. There's about $20, right? I said, I'll make a deal with you. If you don't like this cigar, I'll buy you those 2 in your drink. But if you like it, you owe me $20. And he's like, well, I guess in that case, I could use some free alcohol. And he opens the cigar and he cuts it and he lights it. And I just let him be. I don't say nothing. I go back to talk to somebody else. And about 10 minutes later, he does this. And I walk over there and he stands up, he reaches in his pocket and he hands me $20. Nice. Doesn't say a word. Now, every time he goes in there, he buys one of ours and one of the Monte Cristos.
Nice.
Now,
and to me, it was great, right? Because here's a guy that, like, she's like, oh, don't even waste your time. And I'm like, I'm going to still get him I'm going to put one in his hand just to see what, and me, it was just, I want to see what happened. Like if he had walked out and I didn't do it, I'd have been kicking my own ass forever, So, yeah, so I thought that was kind of a funny one, of that day that's how it went. But, but they can get the easiest place for people to get them now. They're available.
I'm going to show them that. Hold on a second. I'm going
Okay.
to pop that back up so everybody knows. So I'm going to share the review again. So in the review, after the beginning introduction story, there's a link right here for Toro Cigars. Okay. That's where you can definitely get these here. They're $13.95 a cigar. If you click that link, it brings you here. You can get a 15% off your order, limited time first order. So you can check that out. I want to go here. So they're $39 for a 3-pack of these things.
Yep.
Okay. And you can go right in here to Toro Cigar Company and order these all day long.
Yep.
Where else can you get them?
So you can get them up here in North Dakota at Big Stick. And then right now, Fat Boys Cigar Lounge.
Where's Fat Boy located?
I always get it confused, man. They're in
Pittsburgh.
Okay. Good place.
Coming soon. You'll be able to get them at in Prescott, Arizona at Minuteman.
Okay.
They're a brand new lounge. They're actually we're actually 10 days older than they are they started on we dropped this on June 3rd. They opened their doors on June 11th.
Have you reached out to one of your TPA brand members called His and Hers Cigars here in Cocoa Village?
They're on the list soon as they have room.
They have a small humidor. And,
it's a space issue. Soon as Luis calls me and says, hey, I'm ready, we're going to make it happen. But we're also going in the Big Fella's Mobile Cigar Lounge in Chicago coming up here in the next month. And we're going into the Hayes Gray Mobile Cigar Lounge.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, of course.
With Ruin, of course. With Ruin, his brother. Which, guys, I'll say this. I love our cigar, but if you haven't smoked Hayes Grays, you're missing out. They're a great, every one of their cigars are a great cigar.
No doubt.
Great guys, great cigars.
Absolutely.
But but if you look at those types of people, that's really what we're looking for, right? People that are super passionate about small brands. Because for us to get in so let's just say, the stars aligned and everything else, and we got into Burn. Well, here's the thing, though, or into a major a lounge that size, we're going to get lost in the shuffle. You're not a boutique lounge, so we're really careful about. Do you guys have other boutique brands? What are you doing? Who do you have? How are you moving them? And because as well as I do, if you have people working in that lounge that don't smoke boutiques, they're not going to move your cigar anyway.
Right. And unfortunately, in this industry, it's one of these, you get in and then they want you to come and help sell the cigars,
Right.
And it's part of the whole marketing thing that we ended up having to do as an industry. But once you get people on the cigar, they're like, yeah. Now these cigars, these are not limited, right?
No.
These are coming out. They're going to get refilled. There's more of them. You're
Oh
going to
yeah.
get.
Absolutely.
So it's not something that is of a limited
Mhm.
number. So,
I mean, it may become limited sooner or later, only because Scott and
well,
myself run out of them, and we stock our humidors next. But they'll be back eventually. No, I'm joking, guys.
so
Actually,
you
what's really
follow.
funny is I think Scott and myself have probably had the least amount of these cigars.
No doubt.
Hopefully, you're not smoking your product.
No, we don't smoke our own stuff. I mean, we buy it through Toro, just like we're telling you guys to do it. Or if I'm over at Big Stick and I want one, I buy it just like everybody else to support the shops. I think that's one of the things, they always said, if you owned a bar, the fastest way to lose money is to drink your own stash.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Right. And so we went, you know what? We're not doing that. We want every penny to go back in so we can get bigger and bigger orders and do more and more stuff. And so, if I have them, great. If
So
I
are you
don't,
following?
somebody else does.
Are you following one of the top rules of running a cigar company to where where when you put an order in, you get your stash, you're getting them sent out, you're getting them sold. Are you putting in shortly thereafter, as soon as you start to get revenue coming in, putting in the next order to
Yep.
always have that pipeline filled? Because otherwise you run into they're not available.
Yeah. And right now, and I don't, kind of what's going on with the imports and everything right now with some of the changes. So right now we're running low. Like, I mean, we can't fulfill some shop orders. There's not enough left because Toro does also all our distribution for us because he's got a giant humidor in the setup. And they just, your review hit. We sold some more cigars, which was great. But with what's going on right now with the import, it's definitely caused a little bit of a hiccup. So right now there could be a possible delay, and we've talked to all the shops. We told them what's going on. They knew about it. It wasn't a big deal. But after this hiccup, pending no more hiccups in the industry like this on the importers, we're not going to run out again of this cigar.
Good.
Or at least we're gonna do everything we can not to, But when you're small and you're just starting out and it takes off like wildfire, I mean, it really did. It was, the lounge, like Fat Boys, Chuck hadn't even smoked our cigar, and it was customers coming in wanting them, And so we went, Scott and myself had a conversation. We went, do we risk it right now? It's like, we're just putting in that reorder. Do we risk it? And if everything would have fallen into place properly with importing, we would have been okay. It just didn't work out that way, right? Yeah. You can't control what you can't control, And so right now, yeah, they're kind of hard to find. Toro's got some, but not much. But that'll be fixed in the next, I think, about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. And, then we'll be back up and kicking. Yeah. And I'm going to say, I'll tell everybody that enjoys them this. We're going to do everything in our power not to run out again, that we can control.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a learn as you go thing, Jimmie, for us too. I mean, I've never run a business before, so when we started this thing, just creating the business, the wholesale tobacco license, wading through, for months of North Carolina tobacco tax code and all that, just kind of learning. So short answer, I mean, if we didn't mess anything up, we would never learn nothing. But yes, we are definitely heeding the advice that we get from people that have been doing this longer than we have, and trying not to make those same mistakes. We're real humble about that, and so we're doing what we can do.
Okay, so you contacted me the other day, and we have enough people that chimed in here that made some comments and loved and liked stuff on the feed. We give some shit away.
Yeah, Scott, you got yours by you?
I do actually, man. I was thinking ahead.
Well,
So
I'm glad because I left mine sitting inside because it's so windy. I mean, I'm not joking. I'm at a 30-mile-an-hour steady wind with 45-mile-an-hour gusts. And Jimmie, you want to watch a cigar burn funny? You smoking a 30-mile-an-hour wind with 40-mile-an-hour gusts?
I live in Florida. I know
Yeah,
this. That's
yeah.
why I sit
That's why
inside
you have
my
a nice
lounge.
inside spot to smoke.
Okay. So I believe I have
can't really see it on there, but that's it.
all right, so we got an ashtray.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to do one thing or you want just one thing, ashtray and a couple few cigars, or you want to do two?
Let's do the ashtray and with a 3 pack of cigars and then one other 3 pack too. We'll just do it like
Okay.
that.
All right,
You
so
know.
here we go. So let me let's go set this up. I think I've got these are the folks that have been chiming in on this live broadcast. All right.
Hey,
Got some
this
good
teaches
things
them.
on here.
If they don't show up, they don't know what's going to happen. They better be live from now on.
Yeah, right. But yes, so we here we are. We're gonna give this a bunch of shuffles. All right. What usually happens is sometimes that, after the week, I used to do this like a week later on a Saturday, and there's a whole lot more that chime in afterwards. But we're gonna do it from the live side of it. All
Yeah,
right.
and so the
Nice.
first thing we'll give away is we'll do the ashtray and a 3-pack.
All right. The first one is the ashtray. Okay, we're gonna do a couple more shuffles. All right. And we're gonna give this wheel a spin. Let's see if it's I don't know how fast it's gonna spin. Tim McCon, you have one tray.
Nice. Nice.
Okay.
There's an ashtray winner.
So I have to remove Tim. All
And
right. Now
let
we
me tell y'all this too. This thing is solid, man. This was made by a guy in Florida, not too far from you, at Parabellum Woodshop. It is solid and handmade, and it is nice. So
And by the way, Tim got them before any lounge even got one. That is the first ashtray to go out.
it is, and I almost hate to give it away because it's so freaking nice. I want to keep it for myself.
there you go. You'll get more minutes. All right. So the next one's a 3-pack. Okay. We'll give some more shuffles to this. Well, I haven't done a wheel in a long time. This always gives me fun to do this. All right. So we're gonna go do another little spin here and now there is a cigar. New one, Chris Colter. Okay, Chris Colter I know him very well. He's based out of Texas, down in Fort Worth, Dallas area. Hangs out at the Underground Cigar Lounge. By the way, there's a place you might want to get into. So, Chris, you're going to get 3. You might want to give one to Don. Maybe he'll bring them in. Okay.
Yeah. So hey, Chris, send Jimmie your contact info, and I'll get your order. I'll get your cigars in the mail on Monday.
Yeah.
Same.
So Chris and Tim, send me your info. I will. I'll get everything sent over to the team. And if you're not on right now because it's already an hour into the show, sometimes people leave. It doesn't matter. I'll reach out to them and tell them that what they won, and they'll get me the information. I'll send it to you, and you can take care of it all.
Outstanding.
That was awesome. Thank you.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Man, we're just happy.
But what do you guys do when you're
took a
not
chance on
doing?
us.
What do you do when you're not doing like cigars? Like you got hobbies that you
Well,
like?
that's easy, man. I got a 50-hour-a-week job. I got a family. I got an 11-year-old that I cart around. So life is busy, man. I don't have a lot of time to do hobbies and stuff. So cigars are my thing. That's my outlet. I come out here and I smoke, and I do Fathom and Fury, man. And that's been tough. In the club we're in. We get a lot of guys that send messages, and they'll come on the server in the morning. It'll be like 11:30. They'll be like, "Good morning." I'm like, "Good morning. I've been up since 3 o'clock. What are you talking about? Good morning."
Remember those
But
days. I'm glad I'm not doing it anymore.
but it's busy. But life is good, man. It really is. Family, cigars, friends. That's what it's all about.
What does your 11-year-old do?
He is a swimmer. So he does like travel swimming, I guess. If you're familiar with travel baseball, it's kind of the same thing. But he's good, man. He's real good. And he kills me in Call of Duty all the time, man. I don't even play with him anymore. I can't keep up.
Just ask you one question before we get to Jake's answer. On your arm, you have an interesting tattoo of Roman numerals. What is that?
Wow, you called me out on that too. Okay. I
I
struggle
observe.
I have struggled with alcohol and drug addiction my whole life. That's not something I throw out there to everybody. But I have. And so that is the date that I put all that stuff down and finally figured out what was important and started doing the next right thing. You
Look in
know,
your arm all the time and it reminds you.
absolutely.
Yo,
Absolutely.
and that's why I think, man, I give kudos to Scott, bringing that up because he doesn't talk about it a bunch. And that's why I think, when you ask us, what do we want to do? We want to help the next guy. It's not about the money to us. It's to help the next guy. Because both of us in different ways in our lives at a really ironically, almost the same age. There's an age gap between us a little bit, but we're almost about the same age when we hit rock bottom. And that's really why we're like, you know what? We don't want if we can help. So a year and a half ago, Mike Glover, who owns Toro Cigar Company, Bill Rainier, and myself started Honor and Ash Cigar Club. And it was for veterans, law enforcement, firefighters, and first responders to have a cigar to be able to have a cigar and come talk about the stuff that we don't want to talk about in a lounge. And it's not that we're not proud of what we've done and we've seen. Jimmie, if I told you some of the stuff I've seen, you'd never talk to me again. It's just, and I don't want you to carry that burden. And I'm not.
No, we could have that privately sometime and share.
Right, but I mean, I don't want somebody else to carry the burden, right? And so,
exactly.
we wear it. And so we started Honor and Ash, and our goal was to help one guy. And what I mean by that is I'm going to be very blunt, right? That's one guy not take his life, right? Help one guy. And we said, look, if we can do this and somewhere down the road we can help one guy, that's what this is about. When the three of us started it, we thought that was a pipe dream. Like we really did. And it took less than 90 days. And somebody posted they're having a bad morning, and somebody else responded and talked them off that ledge and took the time and had the compassion and grace and understanding and honestly, really, really brotherly love for somebody that they only know on a screen. And we went, great. Now what's our goal? And Mike called me and goes, what do we do? I said, what do you mean? Well, we got one. I said, no, we didn't. That was yesterday. And that's really what it was. And so that's why we're not worried about, we don't want the biggest numbers. Honestly, I've been thinking about this a lot because I knew you were going to call us on some stuff. You know what would be a win for me? To take 100 of our cigars to like a VFW event and hear everybody's stories. That to me is worth more than selling 100 cigars.
There you go. I like that.
That's the stuff that matters. Scott, so you can see I don't lift I sit close to the camera. I've got a giant piece. So there's death staring down at me. And there's me and my service dog. And I've got death staring down at me.
Uh-huh.
And I've got a date in there and my date's public. I wrote a book about coming back. And that's what I do in my spare time is I write a lot.
Okay.
Actually, Mike Glover at Toro was the driving force, the physical driving force for me to write the book. And he's been trying to get me to do it for like 3 years. And man, you want to talk about stubborn? I got stubborn in spades, man. You want to talk about.
You sound like my Cocker Spaniel, man.
Yeah. And I woke up one morning and it was heavy on my heart. And in 72 hours, I wrote 180 pages.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah. But that's really what we're about. I mean, it's, neither one of us love talking about it. It's not my favorite topic in the world. I know it's not Scott's favorite topic in the world. But here's the thing. If me and Scott could stand in front of a group of veterans struggling and tell our stories and it helps one guy, I don't care how uncomfortable I am. I know for a fact Scott does not care how uncomfortable it would make him. If it saved one guy, we're going to have the conversation.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
really what, and honestly, you asked us before, what's Fathom and Fury about? That's Fathom and Fury in a nutshell. The cigars, they're just there to break the ice and get us to the conversation.
Nice. I hope you do that. I mean, and make it a regular, try to make it a regular thing. I mean, even if you went to different VFWs and just did this thing once in a while and just
Yeah.
have this gathering of people sharing if they wanted to, they don't have to share. I've been in sharing moments and I've shared some of my deepest, darkest with people, and it is healing on both ends. You sharing and getting it all out, and then them sharing back if they wish to, and it's absolutely healing because you're like, wow, I'm not the only one that
No.
feelings, these thoughts, these things in my head, these things that I did. Because many times we sit in isolation, think we're the only one. We're
Right.
not.
So there's a guy, he's amazing. He's Australian, but he lives in Texas now. He's a pastor. His name's Dr. John King, and he wrote a book called Deal With It. And it's about not it's about dealing with it in a positive way. And I actually have his shirt inside, and my wife stole it. And on the shirt it says, sometimes I snuggle with my demons, sometimes we wrestle. And I mean, that's really how I see it, right? Sometimes me and Scott, man, it's a knockdown drag out with our demons. Sometimes that's okay, but the truth is, if all of us carry everything and we don't share it, it's our darkness. By bringing it to the light, by Scott sharing, he brings it to the light.
Right.
And that's it, man. We were all raised like that back in the day. You didn't show any emotion. You didn't talk about the things that were scary or painful or that you were struggling with because that made you less manly. When really the only, and I'm not a freaking psychiatrist, but really the only solution is to go through it and get to the other side of that. And the best way to do that is with other people that have been through the same thing and having those tough conversations. And I mean, it's freeing, man. It really is. You know what I'm saying? So I'd rather sit down with somebody and help one guy and have that friendship that's going to last for years after that than sell 1,000 cigars all day long,
Nice. Okay, so that brings us beyond the hour. Awesome content in the show. People, if you're still listening, or you're watching this later, remember you can go to Toro Cigars if you're not anywhere near North Dakota or Pittsburgh, pick up a no quarters given, and believe me, I talk about cigars all the time, but this one really is a special cigar. If you like complexity in your cigar, this is a cigar for you. It's the perfect price at $13.95 or whatever, $14 cigar. It's right in that wheelhouse. It's made by what I consider one of the most mad scientists in the industry. Okay. Those of you that know ish know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, check it out. Okay. If you like it, talk to your local shop. Maybe you can get them to bring them in and such. Help out the brothers along the way. I'm going to give you guys the last word. We could start with Scott.
Wow, you're going to put me on the spot, man.
Why
I
not?
just want to say thank you, man. For taking the time and doing that and being honest. I was super nervous, man. When I sent that thing down and I didn't hear anything for a while, I was like, oh God, here we go. And then so it was a real pleasure, man, to get that review, obviously. And to be on the show and do that and just be a part of this whole thing, man. It really is. It's been a lot of fun, and I hope it stays that way. I think it will, and I'm just grateful for everything, man. So thank you for your part in that.
Thank you.
I
Jake?
could say it better than what Scott said. I'm going to just add one thing to that. Jimmie, I've followed you for years, and we had offers for people to review our cigar, and Scott can tell you my stance was no until it was you. And you're the only cigar reviews I trust because they're honest, and they're very informative, but it's not like you're trying to read 10,000 words about a cigar. You're just you have a great pace and a great way you tell the story. And you know, like I said, I trust your reviews, and when you wanted to do it, it was a no-brainer.
Yep. And I appreciate that. And one of the things I always tell people when I do my reviews, and believe me, there are cigars that are reviewed that they're not on Stogie Press. I'm not spending the extra time. They're that bad. Okay. But if they're on Stogie Press, they're usually a pretty decent cigar. Okay. But what I kind of pride myself in when I do the reviews is it's not whether I like the cigar.
Right.
It has nothing to do with me. All right. I'm going to tell you what this cigar told me. I'm going to tell you what the flavor notes are and where I got them. I'm going to tell you how it performed. It's going to, judge it based upon the parameters that I judge cigar on. And as simple as that. For all you know, I might not like this cigar. You'll never know that. I'll never tell somebody I don't like the cigar. Okay. But I will tell you what notes you're going to get. And I will tell you, like I have a friend of mine who hates Dominican cigars. And I asked him one day, why do you hate Dominicans? I mean, almost 50% of the cigars coming into the industry coming out of Dominican. Okay, so why do you hate Dominican cigars? Well, they're so floral. I said, okay, so you don't like floral. Because I hate floral. I said, okay. But don't you think that there's a bunch of people out there that like floral? And when they see me put up a cigar and I start talking about the fact that it has a pretty good core, a good floral, fruity notes and stuff in it, that their eyeballs don't go, whoa, this might be for me. No, it's not for you. That's fine. And it may not even be for me. But there are people out there that will like that cigar. And all I want to tell you is these are the notes that I believe you should get out of it. Right. And then the other thing I tell people is if you're going to look for cigar, if you're following people like me in the industry and you're looking at a cigar and you want to see what reviews, don't just go to me. Look at others. For one reason, forget the rating number. Rating numbers are industry loves rating numbers. You guys love numbers. Everybody loves numbers. Okay. Years ago, I never did numbers, but I got into doing numbers because I found out the industry wants a number. So I give them a number. Right. My numbers might skew a little higher at times, but for whatever, who cares? Bottom line is, if you look at multiple reviews of one cigar, you will most likely find through those reviews common core notes. Those are the notes I would say that if you smoke that cigar, you would probably get those notes. Then you're going to get other notes that are kind of more nuanced that my palate picks up. Like I might pick up a dark chocolate, somebody else might call it earth. They're very close. All right. So they may say earth. I just go, my mind just says, nah, it's kind of dark chocolate. All right. So I might come up with citrus. Somebody else might come off with, it's bitter. Okay. And it's like, well, are you being kind there or are you being unkind? Because there's a difference between bitter
and
citrus peel bitter. Okay, it's like drinking an IPA, right? You drink an IPA, you get the grapefruit citrus bitter note to it. People love it, right? Now, you may not like that note, and that's okay. Then that cigar is not for you, right? So judge it based on what your research is. Do you research?
Right.
And please always look at Stogie Press because we're going to tell you exactly how it burns too. If you want to know how the cigar performs, you're not going to see one picture. You're going to see 9 photos of that cigar going through its journey, everything from the beginning to where the ash drops, what the ash cone looks like, all the way down, and you'll know right away because that cigar is going to burn the same way for you as it does for me and anybody else. I'm sorry.
Yep. Nope. Well, I'll say this. I know for a fact we're working on something, and you'll be the first one to get it. And if you want, man, we'll take every review. Because here's the thing. We don't know what we don't know, right? Reviews, that's feedback to us. If there's something, so we look at it as that's feedback. And we want it all. The good, the bad, and the ugly.
And I'll be even fine if you're trying to I know this one, first one out of the barrel was like perfect, hit the nail on the head. We're happy with it. Sometimes that doesn't happen. You got to go, well,
Right.
I would have no problem smoking one or two of them in a pre thing to check it out. Say, okay, this is the sample we got from the factory, and I'll give you my input on it
Yep. Oh, you don't
and
worry. We're gonna
and
use
share
it.
with you what my thoughts are on it, whether I think it's really should be like tweaked here or tweaked there or whatever. By the way, this is a medium plus in strength cigar. Okay, it's more. It's medium plus, but not plus plus. It's not full strength,
Mm-mm.
so it is a very approachable cigar from nicotine strength. It's not gonna
And
it's not gonna
I'll leave
buzz
us
your
saying this.
brain. You're not
One of
reaching the
my favorite things.
toilet to puke.
One of the things. Yeah. One of my favorite things about the cigar is I don't taste it 10 minutes after I'm done smoking it. You know,
Right.
you get done, you let it die with dignity, right? You put it out, you don't smash it out, you set it down, let it go, and boom, it goes with you.
And we are hour and a half on this show. All right. Still burning. So this is about pushing. I could take this a little bit more, probably an hour. Might get to an hour and 35, but that's what this cigar is going to give you. Smoking it slowly. It's awesome. Perfect draw. No problems, no plug, none of that bullshit. So you guys, this is a winner.
Thank
Keep
you,
making
man. Truly, we appreciate.
Thanks, brother.
You don't know how much that really means to me and Scott. But it does, man. Your review, just who you are in the industry, and just our conversations. You don't know how much we appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I appreciate the kind words. All right. So, folks, that's our show this week. Next week, I'm going to shift off the TPA for a day, and I'm going to be bringing in PDR cigars with Wayne Clark, okay, who's coming in. Okay, so those that know Wayne, he's been in the industry for a long time. He used to be with Placencia and some other brands. So he is now working with PDR. I think he's the national sales director. So we're going to bring Wayne in for that show. It'll be next week. I don't know what day. We'll settle on the day. So with that, I'm going to call this show. I appreciate everybody joining. I always enjoy the sponsorship because without that, this show is always a little harder to do. And that is our show.